The Mystery of BELICENA VILLCA. Second Book. The Letter of BELICENA VILLCA. 31st Day. You know well all this, added Beret, who was describing the draw of the Spherica. But I have repeated the essential to avoid misunderstandings, but immediately we will explain the mystery of the Stone of Fire. Such explanation, that was requested to us by the great master of the temple, needs that previous and exact comprehension of the work of the One, the creation of Eve, from his manifestation in the created as the true imman, of the immanent and absolute principles, of his triple immanent action, Shekinah, Aviyah, Metatron. Aside, relieved, the great master, who already feared that the demanded explanation will never come. Watch the roots of the pomegranate, of the life. From the 10th zephyr emerges, the kingdom that carries on its trunk the sign of the almond. As the candelabrum manura, the roots are 7 and culminate in the chalices of the almond's flower, from where poke out, to the terrestrial world the eyes of Eve, the eyes that never sleep, the eyes that see everything, the eyes that profit each eye saw. These optical roots of the tree of Eve, represent the Israel Shekinah, the chosen people, being one with God, that is to say, they show the fulfillment of the plan, the chosen people performing the world government, in the name of the One. In reality, will be the ineffable One who will show himself in the Shekinah of Israel at the end of time. The prophet said, continued Bishar, Eve saith, Heaven is my throne and the earth the stone of fire beneath my feet. Eve rests, because his feet, the roots of the tree imman, over a stone of fire which is nothing else than the soul of the Messiah, manifested in the Shekinah. This terrestrial stone is the replica of Metatron, the celestial man, archetype of all the men of warm clay. Because this stone of fire, which was since the beginning of creation, but that was not employed by the constructors, will fit with justice the end of time, when the time will end, and will become a cornerstone, key of the vault of all the edification. The stone which the quarryman refused is become cornerstone. Psalms 118:22. And where is the seat of such stone of fire, the soul of the Messiah, Metatron, which is the model of all the men of warm clay? According to the prophet, thus saith Adonai, here I am, to put in Zion the foundation of a stone, a tried stone, precious, fundamental, corner, grounded. He who believeth, shall not move from such foundation. Isaiah 28:16. The mortal men, stones of clay, shall be the end, as the fire stone, as Metatron, the celestial man. Thus shall be when the temple be ready, and each one will occupy his place in the construction, according to the model of the Messiah. Thus shall be in the days in which the kingdom of Eve will be concentrated in the earth, and with the reign of the Messiah King, and the Shekinah will be manifested as the chosen people. Because only for Israel has created Eve, the kingdom and the king. No Gentile population has been ever a real kingdom, even if it seemed to, neither has existed a real king, out of the chosen people. For this reason the name Melchizedek, the supreme priest of our order, really means the one who dethrones the kings, and not the king of Set, as we have made believe to the Gentiles. Melchizedek, and those who belongs to his order, must destroy every false kingdom and king ere the real kingdom of Eve be reproduced in the earth, molt out, with the world government of the chosen people. However, priests, the plan of God has been disturbed and now it will be necessary to sacrifice the men of clay in a fire holocaust, the end of time, justly when the temple be erected and the kingdom be realized in the Shekinah of Israel. As we assure you, the fire stone, which was a pure archetype, in the beginning of time, was multiplied, without losing its singularity in the one, that characterizes to all the Zephirot. And each stone of fire, identical to the one of the beginning, was a soul, that would reach the perfection of the end, when all would be one with the One. The men of clay, would reach in this form to be stone of fire, similar to Metatron. For it only should comply the law, and travel through time towards the end, where is the perfection. But was there when they, the seraphim Nephilim, creators of the wide fraternity, engraved the abominable sign, in the stone of fire over which each soul of the men of clay is seated. And abominable sign cooled the stone of fire, Abenes, and removed it, from the end. Therefore, priests, the stone that must be cleaned, with lye, at the end, is the cold stone that would not be where it is, due to, it was not placed in the beginning by the Creator One. Damp stone, stone of scandal, seed of stone. They placed it after the beginning, in the soul of the men of clay, and now it is in the beginning. Time is the constant stream of the consciousness of the One. Between the beginning and the end of time is the creation, and at the end of time is the perfection of the soul as stone of fire. Is the will of Eve, that the soul reaches the final perfection, according to the model of Metatron. But now the soul can't see, the cold stone that is sunk in it. Not perceives it until it crosses its path and becomes a stumbling stone for the soul, in an insurmountable obstacle to reach the good of the final perfection. Without the seed of stone in the soul of the men of clay would have not existed evil, nor hate for the creation, the evolution would have been realized by the force of the love to the Creator, the final perfection would have been assured, for every created soul. Now that plan of Eve will be impossible to be accomplished, and the judgment of Din, the Ancient of the Days, determines that only those who reach the good of the final perfection, in any time, will reach alive to the end of time. Instead, those contaminated by the evil, the men of clay whose souls incubate, even unknowing it, the seed of stone, will be dissolved and converted in lye, to clean with it the abominable sign in the stone of fire. Yes, priests, continued Bishar, Ahai created all beings, included the stone. He extracted it from the warm fire, and because of this he designed it as stone of fire. And he put all the created beings in the becoming of time, which is his flowing consciousness. Because before the beginning, not existed nothing except the ineffable Supreme Being. The Spirit of the One went out at the beginning of the Ein Sof, the actual infinite, which represents the naught, for all the created souls. Thus the One, who also appeared from that naught, brought all the created beings from there. The first of them was the warm fire, created the first day, giving in this way beginning to the time. The souls of the men of clay, created after, started to evolve thenceforth, in direction to the final perfection. But, the evolution was very slow. To accelerate it, the Seraphim Nephilim came with the consent of the One. Also appeared from the Ein Sof, to those angels, our enemies called traitor gods. The truth is that they extracted from the naught the abominable uncuttered sign, and engraved it in the warm fire, and that was the origin of evil. The signalized stone was transformed by that signing cold stone, and it was instantly moved to the beginning of time, moved backwards from the initial naught, to sustain an abominable existence out of time. Amongst the created beings, within the created stones, the cold stone refused the order of the creation, rebelled against the will of the One, and was declared enemy of the creation. Who had introduced the uncuttered sign in the world, placed the cold stone in the soul of men as seed of stone, to make it grow, to mature and fructify, to make that the force of its development obtain rapidly the soul to the final perfection. But such seed, as we said, would produce a fruit extremely hostile to the God One and his creation. A fruit would only accept to exist out of the time before the beginning. A fruit would only learn to abandon the world of the created beings and get lost in the original naught. A fruit that could not be foreseen by the soul, because its seed would remain invisible since the beginning. A fruit which would be denominated the Self. And the cause of that fruit would not be the cold stone, neither the seed of stone, but those inhabitants of the abyss, that you know as Hyperborean spirits. They are our real enemies, but, fortunately, they only can be manifested in the soul of men through the cold stone. You will comprehend that what incarcerates them to the soul of men, without being aware of that, is the cold stone in the beginning. However, if the warm stone was extracted at the warm fire, and the cold fire, contrarily, has sprouted from the cold stone, by the uncuttered fire, the damned lineage of Tharsis, that we have just exterminated, escaped for centuries to our control, and infested the world with men of stone, who tried to destroy the bases of the cult. It seems that the seraphim Nephilim didn't count that with the cold fire would sprout the cold fire, and would reveal to the Luciferic man what they denominate infinite blackness of himself. For it is necessary, since that hateful mystery was possible, to avoid in the future that the seed of stone mature and fructify, the birth of child of stone, that will receive the revelation of the cold fire, and that will turn off the warm fire of the heart. It is necessary to clean the cold stone with lie, to recover the warm fire. The fire must never abandon the heart of men. Really, priests, even if they blame the One, and his terrestrial representatives, for the disgrace that affects them, with the Hyperborean seraphim, those who dwell in the heart of Eve, Tiferet, who preserve the spiritual incarceration. It is true that they worked with the consent of the One, and no one knowing nor for what he created them, nor why he gave them, also, the power to extract beings from the naught. At least, if it is granted credit to what they affirm, that they are not beings created by the One, but they come, as a high, from a world that exists beyond the Ein Sof, and that their spiritual nature is equal to the One. But to believe them would be to commit the greatest heresy against the Ekma of the Master of everything, because was not the own One who declared his absolute unity and exclusive. To whom then will ye compare me? Saith the Holy Elder. Lift up your eyes on high and see, who hath created these things? Isaiah 40:25. Thus saith Eve, King of Israel, and his Redeemer each separate. I am the first and the last, and apart of me there is no other stone. Ye are my witnesses. Is there a God except from me? There is no God, I know no other. Isaiah 44:6. Ye are my witnesses, saith Eve, and my chosen people, that ye may know and believe me, and understand that I am Ahai. Before me there was no God, neither shall there be after me. I am God since always and also since today I am the same, and there is no one that can escape of my hand. I will do what I want, and who will change it? Isaiah 41:10. Yes, priests, we must not doubt of the One, but neither forget that the Hyperborean seraphim founded the wide fraternity to which all of us belong and in which hierarchy we have reached the highest priesthood. In sum, according to the plans of the seraphim Nephilim, while the seed of stone is being developed, the soul of the earth and men would evolve undoubtedly accelerated towards the final perfection. But the reality contradicted these plans. Such germ of evil, when it be fructified, far of impulsing the soul to raise it towards the final perfection, would be sunk in the terror abyss without name, in the eternity of an infinite blackness. And finally, the seed of stone would end dominating the soul of the man of clay, and converting him in an enemy of the Creator and the creation, hardening his heart, and turning him in a being without love, converting him in a man of stone. For this reason we, the perfect priests, must propitiate the fire holocaust, that will clean, with lie, at the end the abominable sign in the stone that is planted in the soul of the man of clay. Concluded BELICENA.